Yeah, my name's Levon Ounanian. I have a background in theater, improvisational theater, and also I'm kind of pursuing interaction design right now, and I'm trying to mix the two, trying to use a technique. Hope it works. Yeah, so I'm just using that technique to explore products and systems. So.
Obediephobia is the fear of obeying. This phobia manifests itself in a fear of structures and systems and rules. It's that general feeling that if you get stuck in a mechanical, repetitious order, you will degenerate. So all order becomes an anxiety, and as this anxiety increases, the obediephobe seeks an outlet. But there is not one responsible individual. This man does not exist. There's only a machine, and the machine grinds on, and on, and on, and on. Set of rules that I face every day. I wake up in the morning and that's what I'm facing. If you look here, this is a beauty contest. Have you ever been to a beauty contest? Have you ever seen a beauty contest? It's the sickest thing you'll ever see in your life. They line people up and they all have to conform to this idea of what's beautiful, and there's very strict rules about it. I mean, it's not just a matter of whether they're found attractive. It's kind of like they have a breakdown of hips, bums, tits, nose, lips, ears, hair, swimsuit, dresses, the lot. And I tell you, it's just incredibly dangerous. And I find it as an obediphobe incredibly distressing, just even to watch. Whereas if you see the women who are actually entering, you can see it in the terrified smiles on their faces that they don't want to be there. And so I don't feel like I'm so alone. I just find it really terrifying. Just look at these faces here. This woman on the back, you know, the blurred woman, I think she's the most frightening. I mean, you can just see, it looks like a death mask. I mean, her face is like a skull. She's already dead because she's giving in to the system. This woman here, with her hands crossed there over her genitals because she's frightened of people looking at her. This woman here, you know, she's wearing gold on her chest. She's turning herself into a kind of monetary artifact or a robot. It just terrifies me. This hip swimming woman here, I mean, I don't hate women, I just think they're wonderful, but you know, this woman here is dressed as a man. She's a United Kingdom, you see, they're sort of British, so she's wearing a top hat, you know, because that's what British people are like. I mean, so I think I'm going to have to look at something else. This is it. This is my worst enemy. Just look at this. State of Nevada Committee on Benefits. This is how somebody in distress manages to get some kind of help. Look what they have to do. I mean, you know, I can't follow forms like this, so I'm never going to get any benefits from the state of Nevada. But you have to put your last name first, and you have to put your first name last, yeah, and you have to put the right combinations of yes and no. You have to tick or cross all these boxes. In fact, do you have to tick them? Do you have to cross them? Does it matter? I bet you it fucking well does. I mean, I can't even look at it. Just look at that. Sign it, date it, and tell us exactly who you are. What if your paperwork looks like this? Yeah, I mean, my paperwork always looks like that because I have to destroy it. I have a sort of a compulsion to just completely ruin it. Here I am as a young boy. This is, can you see me? I'm the guy in the yellow t-shirt with the panicking hands, and I'm kind of wishing that this sacred act in front of me is the way that the world could always work. I mean, they're obviously cutting a deal of some sort. That already sets up a whole set of rules, but at least it's happening in a way which is human, which involves some kind of contact, and that's the only kind of salvation I'm going to find in this world. In this next image, this is another image from my childhood. Quite a powerful moment, this, and I think it was possibly maybe was it the first time I ever saw this kind of thing happening. Isn't this sad? There's a friend of mine shaking hands with a soldier, yeah, somebody who's there to kill bodies, basically. And what's sad about it for me is that there isn't actually any real contact. He's wearing a glove. He's wearing a green glove. So although it seems to be a gesture of humanity, it's not at all. It's not actual real contact. So he's selling this boy a lie. I mean, and of course it turned out terribly for him. His name's Aziz, and he's dead now. This is a picture of me when I was working as a secretary in the 1940s, and when I saw this, I cried because I missed it. This was the only time in 7 years working in that typing pool that anybody touched anybody else. It's the chairman of the company meeting a visitor, offering her a cup of tea, and a very sad moment for me to see that picture and realise that I was looking in the wrong direction. When I was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, obviously I went everywhere looking at different sorts of handshakes. You know, this is a sacred thing for me, and so it was quite difficult for me to watch it being mistreated by lying people, politicians doing it for reasons other than for the proper ones. And in fact, in the years since '97, when I was elected, my hair turned grey, totally grey. I'm there with my colleague, who is also an Obediphobe, both struggling with the suits, as you can see, and wearing that red poppy, which everybody has to wear in November. The sacrifices I have to make, you know. It's a terrible sadness that there's this combination of both paperwork and humanity that goes into most agreements. I think they should cut the paperwork. The handshake's the opposite of paperwork. This is a wonderful thing for us. It's just a kinetic connection between people, which can set up an agreement without it having to be codified, nailed down in black and white, and filed away for future reference. This is something that terrifies me, whereas the handshake is something that is a symbol of sacredness and equality. If you go to Afghanistan, that's how they resolve transactions. They don't do paperwork, they do handshakes. Here's some handshakes that are being demonstrated for outside observers. This is a photograph from the 1960s. In which these gentlemen are showing a visitor, a Soviet visitor, Soviet photographer, how a transaction would be agreed. They're doing it without the cloth. In the second image, you can see them actually conducting a transaction. The first image, no horses were sold. In the second image, a flock of 60 were passed from the gentleman on the left to the farmer on the right. There's two of his brothers congratulating him. He's got a real deal, he thinks. And of course, in the third image here, you see that even though the handshake is a symbol of trust, just like as in paperwork, it can be broken. The gentleman's obviously sold him some lousy horses for which he's being chastised. We're wondering, some friends and I, whether there's a way of translating this paper form back into a handshake, and we're developing technologies to do it. Here you can see the prototype that we're working out, in which we map out reference points on a form and translate it back into a series of movements. Obviously, it's quite intimidating for an obediphobe, and like the Afghans, we tend to put the form under a cloth in order to do it. Here's Angelina. She's a prison guard at Holloway Women's Prison, and she has quite a profound understanding of the way human contact is important to people.
Sometimes prisoners like to paw you a little bit. They'll paw at you, kind of like if they're walking past you, like large crowds of them are going past you. Like I've seen prisoners reach out and kind of touch like the officer's face or something, and stroke it. It's really, really strange. In a way, it's kind of quite a risky thing to allow because it's almost like they're testing you to see how close they can come.
Right.
But at the same time, it's their way of showing some kind of tenderness or some kind of like, you know, I can respond to you, we can interact and stuff. Or they'll stroke you on the arm. It's almost like a compulsive thing. Just try and, when they walk along, they try and grab hold of your arm and just walk along with you and stuff. And you're not supposed to allow that, because even if I was to come up to a prisoner and just say, you know, come on mate, and just move them along, that's me assaulting them immediately.
Really?
Like, it's deemed as assault if I touch them in any way without authority. If I lay hands on a prisoner, I'm meant to fill out a form to say I laid hands on them. Why did I lay hands on them? Yeah. Even if it is just to usher them, or even if it is to cut off a ligature from their neck.
So you can't touch them without filling out a form?